Welcome to Bailey Price Media.
Bailey, who actually played the game and knows more football than you will ever forget, know, or understand.
Man, shout out to Bailey Price Media. I am so excited to see what you're going to do with this channel. Everybody like, subscribe, comment, follow Bailey's journey. This is going to be real good. I'm excited for you, brother.
Welcome back to Bailey Price Media. We are here for another great show here on this fine Wednesday. Today, I have 8-year NFL veteran Tank Johnson joining the show. We got a lot to talk about today. Caleb Williams' debut. I got to eat some crow. The Bears ended up winning that game. Caleb Williams only threw for 93 yards. So we'll discuss that for sure. We're also going to discuss Tyreek Hill's detainment. That's a huge thing going on social media right now. Tyreek Hill was detained outside of Hard Rock Stadium before the Dolphins played the Jaguars, so we'll discuss that. And we're going to discuss some college football as well. Is Colorado football in trouble after their loss to Nebraska? We'll discuss that as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in 8-year NFL veteran, Washington Husky alum. You'll see him repping the Huskies today. Let's bring him in, Tank Johnson. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing good. My Bears won. My Huskies won. It's a good week to be Tank Johnson.
No doubt, brother. No doubt, man. Well, let's dive right into it, man. So let's go ahead with the final score. It's not an indicator of how this game was. I'm gonna go ahead and lead it off with that.
But didn't I say it was going to be like a 21-17 type of game?
Yeah, you did say that. You absolutely did say that. I thought it would be a little bit more high scoring. I was surprised that, Will Levis looked impressive in the beginning, but then he fell off quick. I thought Caleb never really got anything going on offense. It was a struggle. I thought the Titans defensive line really put a lot of pressure on him at times. What were your initial thoughts of Caleb's debut?
Man, listen, I think Caleb, I don't think he mentally prepared himself and dialed in for the moment. He's one of those kids who likes to say, like, I don't feel pressure. I can just go into any environment and just be myself. Well, I think he learned that in the NFL, you really got to tighten the screws. Everything has to be precise, because if you don't, you're going to overthrow people by being a little bit too lax, a little bit too comfortable, and a little bit too confident. And all I've heard him say on Hard Knocks and in the preseason was just talked about how he hasn't gotten nervous since he was in high school. And being nervous is a good thing. That means that all the hay is in the barn and you're going to go put it all on the line, and you hope you get the return on investment. And I think he's going to take this week a little bit more serious.
Yeah, no doubt. This week, he'll definitely have to take more seriously heading down to Houston to take on C.J. Stroud and the Texans. Let's go ahead and let's stick on this debut, this game. It was a kind of a weird game. The Titans were up 17-0, and then the Bears eventually came back with a blocked punt for a touchdown, a pick six from Will Levis, which one of the weirdest. I didn't understand that. He sits there like it's unbelievable. Just what were your initial takeaways from Caleb's game so far? What did you like? Did you see any positives, cons? What some of your takeaways?
I think some of the takeaway is I think he did throw that great pass to Keenan Allen that he dropped in the end zone, which would have been a legit bona fide touchdown and a hell of a throw. If you're really trying to look for positives, that's a positive. If he catches that ball, then I think we're all kind of having a little bit different perspective on him. I just think that they have to learn how to play with him. One of the things that kind of really irked me was Caleb. I said this in the preseason. When he scrambles, he likes to turn and run backwards a lot. And in the NFL, that's when your guys break open. and you could tell that someone told him that at halftime, because when he wanted to scramble, he just stayed in the pocket, and he was almost throwing from like a flat-footed, but he was completing passes. That's the thing. If you don't turn your back to the defense, listen, a half a step is open in the NFL. So you've got to wait until those guys clear a half a man and throw the ball. If you're running toward the other end zone and guys are chasing you, you're missing out on those opportunities. So it looked like in the second half, he cleaned that up a little bit, but it didn't seem like it came natural to him.
Yeah, and when you talk about turning your back to the defense, it's similar to the Lamar Jackson thing. If you watch the opener, Lamar Jackson, he completely turned his back to the defense and threw that pass to Likely had that toe out. You would like to think, had he not done that, he might have gotten a pass off quicker. Just a thought. But I thought you made a hell of a point of that with Caleb, because Devondre Sweat, Jeff Simmons, all these guys are really getting after him and stuff. What did you think of the Bears' offensive line in his debut, Caleb Williams' debut?
Well, I think they didn't work very well as a group. I think that's the biggest thing from offensive line is not necessarily how you block one-on-one, but how you block in a group. I saw the one time where the nose came right up the middle. He crossed the center's face, and anytime a tackle crosses the center's face, the whole line was sliding that way. So that backside guard has to pick him up and either keep passing him or stonewall him right there. And it just seemed like one-on-one they were okay, but they didn't work very well together. And I think, I think they have to get used to like Caleb's default scrambles so that they know how to block when he's moving around. Right. And I think that just comes with playing together. It just, film study and playing together.
No doubt. That just comes with time. I think that, and yeah, Caleb Williams. I'd like to. Here's the thing: you called me during that game, and I was sitting there, and I had watched about a half, and I was really high. I was like, "Dang, the Titans looking really good." Caleb's like, it seems struggled so far. He overthrew a pass to Keenan Allen, where I think you called me and told me about it. I was like, man, yeah, that you can't miss that. You can't miss that pass up the sideline. But they ended up pulling it out, and they ended up winning. That's unbelievable. Let's talk about next week's matchup. So Caleb Williams and the Bears head to Houston to take on C.J. Stroud and the Texans. What are you expecting from that game?
One thing I can tell you is games like Houston, they're young, they're confident, they've got a couple of a year under their belt. These kind of games can get away from you really early, and that's what they gotta control. Even though like special teams and defense were kind of what saved us in game one, that's going to have to be our calling card all season until this offense learns how to mesh together. And so I think it's really important that the defense and special teams keeps us in games so that our offense can catch up. And as long as those guys go out there, and I mean, our defense, they played lights out. I'm talking from the front four to the back. They played really, really well. They were really opportunistic when the ball was on the ground and in the air. And it's going to be important for them to keep CJ in check while Caleb and company figures out what's going to be their kind of bread and butter.
Yeah, no doubt. And Caleb Williams, he'll have a new test with that Texans defensive line. They got Danielle Hunter. They got a bunch of dudes on that defensive line coming after him. What do you expect the Bears? We predicted the schedule. I believe you predicted this would be a loss. How do you envision this game going in detail?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be like this. One of the things in the NFL, and it's kind of funny. That's the reason that the Bears didn't play Caleb a lot in the preseason, because now he's got something on film. He's got what he does naturally on tape, and defensive coordinators and the very astute defensive linemen, they are licking their chops now, because now they see where his instincts default to, and they can attack those zones and they can flush him out. They say, listen, he's going to turn and go this way anyway, so let's set up our rush lane so that we can go meet him right at the mesh point. And so when you put stuff on tape, you got to go out there the next week and either back that up or play through that, because once these guys get a beat on you, it's like hunting. You're in the crosshairs.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And, before we move on, I'll give my prediction for that game. I believe that the Texans are 6-point favorites in that game against the Bears. I think it's going to be a really tough game, too, for Caleb heading down to C.J. Stroud. He's playing as good as anybody in the NFL. Him and Stafford are up there, I would argue, as the two best, quarterbacks right now, that are playing. So, I think it's going to be a tough game for the Bears. I think C.J. Stroud will beat him like 30-17, maybe. I don't know. I think it'll be a tough game for him. But, we'll see. What are your thoughts?
I mean, and this is what kind of sucks for the Bears is because when you get a victory like that, like, and I'm speaking from like the Bears defense and special teams and offense for that matter, that you kind of stole one, right? That like, man, 100 and something, 40 yards total offense, defense had, a touchdown, special teams had a touchdown. Like, that you stole one. So you're looking at the other side of the ball like, hey, we're 1-0, when we really got lucky here. So, let's go, guys. Let's pick it up. And so I can see them kind of having that pit in the bottom of their stomach. Like, if the offense plays like this all season, it's going to be a long year. But that's kind of one of those defensive failings that most people don't talk about.
Yeah, no doubt. So Caleb only threw for 93 yards passing last week. Do you expect? How will that change next week? How will that change against the Texans? I believe Texans have a better secondary than the Titans do. How do you believe that will change? Do you think that will improve? What were your thoughts?
I mean, I think here's the thing. In order to improve that, you're going to have to get him some easy throws to the tight end, running backs out of the backfield, old school playground. Hey, run a button hook. You're going to have to hit him with those type of passes. But I just don't see Caleb as like even wanting to throw those type of passes. And one of the things that I've noticed is that I don't know how tall Caleb Williams is, but it seems like he has a better vision when he's off to the side, in that like bootleg area. He seems like he sees the field a lot better. When he's directly behind the center, it's almost like he's peeking and he's throwing over people. And that's kind of where you're going to get those easy completions at. And so to answer your question, I think the main thing is this. They got to get him some easy plays, some confidence boosters. I don't care if they throw a sweep. If he's 19 for 21, all checkdowns, man, and we win, that's a win.
Yeah, and it's ironic you say that because Caleb was drawn coming out of college a lot of comparisons to Kyler Murray. I don't know if you watched the Cardinals-Bills games, but I believe Sean King on JB's show who mentioned that Kyler Murray's height seemed to hinder him in that game, and I tend to agree. So we'll see how that affects Caleb going forward. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I see it all the time. I see it all the time when these new quarterbacks come into the league and, traditionally, center is not the tallest guy on the line. The tackles are. The guards are kind of, they're big guys. But when you've got just shoulders of grown ass men in front of you, and you're looking up and you're trying to look down, your mind can start playing tricks on you because not only are you seeing the back of your guys' helmets, but then you see a 2-3 levels of defensive helmets, and most of these guys want to get to where they can see the field. Like they've done in the offseason. And I've seen height be a real problem for a lot of these new kind of run-pass option quarterbacks.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, I think this is going to be really interesting. I think the Texans are going to kind of blow them out. I think it's going to be a tough game for Caleb on the road. We'll see, though. I'm excited. I'll obviously tune in. We'll break it down next week. Let's go ahead and move forward here. Let's go out to some college football. So I do a show with Colorado alum Matt McChesney. So Colorado took on Nebraska this weekend, and obviously it was a tough game for Colorado heading into Lincoln. Tough for the offense. Defense played well. They shut them out in the second half, and in the first half they struggled to stop the run, gave up 21 points. 7 points was from a Shedeur Sanders pick six. My question to you is Colorado in trouble after the loss to Nebraska?
Absolutely, they're in trouble. I mean, it seemed like every other tackle, someone was going out with a game-ending injury and a damn near it's a battle of attrition. And when you lose your top safeties, and I mean, I think they might have had like 4 guys go down who finished the game in street clothes. So that in itself, when you got starters going down and now you got to bring in backups, those guys are backups for a reason, because these guys beat them out as better players, so that level of play is going to go down. And that's what concerns me the most with the Buffs, is that, like, man, like these guys must not ever tackle in practice or in training camp, because it seems like as soon as it goes live, these guys are hurt.
Well, I can tell you, I don't know if they have been going live, but I could tell you, Matt and I interviewed Deion Sanders Jr. yesterday, and they're going live a lot more. He said shit ton of stuff is live. Here I'll actually play you his comments as to this game. He called it a, quote, bullshit performance. Take a listen.
Nah, it's just, I don't know. It's just a bullshit showing, bro. It was just terrible. Just being real with you, that shit was terrible. It was embarrassing.
Man, what are your thoughts on that? I tend to agree with him. That was really tough for them. This is a huge game for them in Lincoln, rival. We don't know when this game's going to be played again. Obviously, it's non-conference. It used to be in conference. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. It was a bullshit showing, but it just they remind me of Thanksgiving 98, 99, when all your cousins are around, you're playing video games, and that one cousin finds that play that nobody can stop, so you just keep running it and running it and running it. And it's Colorado, it's just like they default and they just throw it to Hunter. They have no balance at all on their offense. And it's just like, I don't know if Deion's trying to get Shedeur drafted, or they kind of understand that that's kind of the best, that gives them the best chance of winning. But like, as a defensive tackle, I can like see what they're going to run. It's either going to be a bubble screen or some type of like in cutting route to get, Hunter the ball or Horn the ball. I mean, listen, you can be so creative running the ball, play action, screens from under center. These type of things, they're just taking them all off the board. It feels like to me that their playbook is like 2 sheets long, and that's what gives you the ability to win, is being versatile and being able to do multiple things, motions, tricking the defense, making their eyes play tricks on them. Nope, they just line up, chuck it to the same guy, and that's never gonna get it in the long run. These D coordinators get too much money.
Yeah, and I mean, Matt McChesney touched on this as we talked about this yesterday, but I'm totally in agreement with you. When they come out and 3-by-1, they literally, it was so disappointing because I wanted them to come out, smash mouth, let's run the football. Big Dallin Hayden, their number 7, their power back, he transferred from Ohio State. I was expecting them to come out and run something. It was all, when you can literally, as a defensive lineman, I'm sure you can attest to this, when they came out and ran that shit the first 7 out of 8 plays where they're just slinging it to the sideline, they're just trying to pass out of the same fucking formation. You as a D lineman, you're pinning, you're ready to rush. That's all you're thinking is pass rush. You already know it's coming. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Listen, man, anytime, like, if I see these guards and they're just back in this pass rush set, you're taking all the pressure off of us, man, because we got guys in the back. It's like, listen, we're giving our cues. We're telling guys it's either Army, or when you say Army, that means run. That's telling everybody it's gonna run. You say Navy, we're going pass. So if once they communicate that down the line, man, you make it too easy for us.
Yeah. What I'd like to see, we got to see something that'll throw the defense off, whether that's motions. We need to be running, like, I need to see trap, counter. I need to see,
creativity.
Yeah, I need anything. Exactly. And that's what I mean, with Shurmur is seems to be the problem with that. You can argue it's Deion, but Deion isn't calling the plays. So you also got to think about, if Shurmur is the one calling the plays, this is Shurmur's offense, whether Shurmur is trying to make Shedeur look good so he can get another job or whatever the objective is. clearly this has to change. And I know Coach Prime is going to address this. I believe that they're going to address these problems. If they come out against Colorado State, which is a huge rival, it's going to be loud on canvas. You think they come out and do the same shit against Nebraska, Colorado State's going to punch them in the fucking face. That's what I believe. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, and they are primed, ready for Colorado State to come in there and just walk all over them, man. Because listen, this is a slippery slope going downhill fast. If they don't put this fire out and show teams that they can have some type of balance and some versatility, because that's what it's all about, is that balance and versatility. I'm telling you, man, the team's going to implode because all those 3 and outs is going to make the defense upset. And, nowadays it's not going to be too long before right after the game, some player's going to be on Twitter saying, this effing team sucks. I'm transferring, or portal with the eyes. It's a matter of time for these guys leaving how they got there.
Well, I'm not ready to nail it in yet with them. I got to see more. They haven't even gotten into conference play yet. They have a tough schedule. If you look, a lot of Big 12 opponents, whether that's UCF, Kansas State. They got to go to Texas Tech, which is, when I initially predicted their season, I said Nebraska and Texas Tech at Texas Tech will be their 2 losses. So I think, it's going to be a long season for them. But I think if they can, enable some of these changes that we talked about, get some versatility and creativity on offense, actually have a run game to where they actually rely on it, take some pressure off Shedeur, because right now Shedeur Sanders has to do everything. And, Matt McChesney said this. It was quoted on ESPN, the North Dakota State game, when Shedeur doesn't have to do everything, he can do anything. Right now, and when we saw that in that Nebraska game, Shedeur was doing fucking everything. And that's the problem. You got to take the pressure on him by having a creative run game, get some creativity. You can't be running the same shit because the defense is going to know what's coming.
Facts.
Yeah. Well, shoot. The more thing I wanted to ask you on the Colorado front, their defensive line coaches. So Damian Lewis is their defensive line coach, and Warren Sapp is a senior analyst, but he's basically an assistant co-defensive line coach. I just wanted to get your initial take. What are your thoughts of them coaching up the D line? What are your thoughts about that?
Listen, I was blessed to be coached by Steve Ettman at University of Washington, the #1 pick in the 1991 draft. And I'll say this, just having him over my shoulder made me play so much better, because I don't care if I got 3 sacks. I led the nation for defensive tackles and sacks with 18 and a half tackles for a loss. And looking over my shoulder at Steve Ettman, that still wasn't good enough. I still had to turn it up another notch. And so when you've got guys like that, Warren Sapp, watching over you, it can either do one or 2 things for you. It could motivate the shit out of you, or it can make you shrink, because inside you may not ever be up to that gold jacket standard, so you just mail it in. And I saw a lot of guys mail it in because they couldn't play up to the level of a Warren Sapp or Steve Ettman. But those true dogs, those players that really care, man, they want to impress Sapp. They want to, hey, how you like that? They want to get him excited. There was no better feeling than I do a move on a guy, come get a sack, and I'm running to the sideline, and Steve Ettman's sitting there like, yeah, there was no better feeling than that. And so these guys got to embrace the greatness around them, and don't let it make them shrink you.
No doubt. And I want to go ahead and show a clip from practice of just Damian Lewis giving a speech to their D line. Colorado's defense line's got some dudes that I believe that are really trying to live up to Sapp and Lewis, and actually, it's not a bunch of bullshit as some people believe. Take a listen to this video here.
Be hard. Hey, and to be honest with you, either doing which one is it gonna be? You either doing drop your walk between this line. I've been saying this shit since I've been here through shit. Shut the fucking tone in everything we do. In every thing we do. We gotta do this shit to show we got some toughness. That's so fucking football. I ain't standing for that shit. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Get your ass going. Every time we put on these helmets, we knocking shit back, and we getting off blocks, and we hitting ball carry. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You gotta wake up on that shit on your mind. You gotta wake up, ready to dominate. It gotta come from here. It's got to come from here. Football is in you. It ain't on you. It is in you.
Man, Tank, what are your thoughts on that?
That's going to get extremely tiring if that's week 2 and you're doing that. You won't have a voice by week 5. You know, it's tough, man. I mean, listen, you know, like those guys. It's ultimately up to those kids who are playing, and they've got to go out there to where they set their own standard for themselves. And so I just think that, I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter. And I also say this. You know, they say that former players don't always make the best coaches because, they think that there's really only one straight path to success. I was a D tackle who was predicated on speed. I wasn't a 2-gap guy. So I'm
tell
going
them tell them what your 40 was.
40, 4.67. At 305, which
That's
is still
crazy.
Still a record.
That's crazy.
But like if I were a coach, I think I would default to coaching guys how I played. And if I've got a long, rangier guy who's got, he's a 2-gap guy, and I try to tell him to do quick twitch things, that may not work for him. And so when you got old players as coaches, sometimes it's not always the best thing either. Because they've only had success one way.
Yeah, I hear you, no doubt. We'll see how it plays out. The Colorado's a huge matchup against Colorado State on the road this weekend in Canvas. It's going to be a huge game, obviously, from last year. The kid knocked out Hunter on the sideline. Colorado ended up going to win it towards the end. And I'm excited to see how this plays out. Jay Norvell and Coach Prime obviously are going to be like this, as it always is. It's going to be a huge matchup. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and move on to one last topic here that I wanted to get your take on. I feel you give a really, really good perspective on this topic and just give some insight as to, because social media has run wild with this. People are taking it multiple different directions. Tyreek Hill was detained outside of Hard Rock Stadium before the Dolphins game against the Jaguars on Sunday. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start this and just kind of walk us through it here. So here's the body cam footage. Let me pull this back. He's driving here. As you see, he speeds by here. Motorcycle cop drives out, ends up going and pulling him over. And then we'll go ahead and show the body cam footage here. Tank, what are your thoughts of the situation initially? They ended up taking him out and slamming him to the ground, kicking him and whatnot. But what are your thoughts of the whole situation?
Okay, so my thoughts are this, right? Like, I think Tyreek, he had the wrong energy with the cop. I understand that, you're in game mode and you're in your supercar and you're trying to get to the stadium and get in your zone. Listen, I've been pulled over before a game too, and it's not the day to flex your muscles on your whatever it is. I think Tyreek could have been way more humble. I think he could have gained a fan had he said, "Hey, I was super excited going for the game. I apologize, sir." I think he would have gained the fan. But instead, he used that opportunity to try to have a dick measuring contest with the cop. And when you've got that badge and that gun, listen, that's a long one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, people are giving the flack about, he rolled up the window. I'm with you on this one. In that situation, you gotta play. You gotta play by the rules. This is what it is. Like, it's a tough situation. People are calling it Darnell and JB obviously had a huge debate yesterday and today about it. Darnell is all on the take of, Tyreek probably could have done more to de-escalate the situation, but at the same time, he doesn't believe that the cop should have kicked him over, as you see right here. Go ahead and show it. The cop ended up kicking him right here. He's trying to sit him down. Tyreek wouldn't sit down, so the cop ends up, doing that, and it's the whole thing. But what are your thoughts of that? Do you have an issue with that?
Truthfully, I don't. I don't. And listen, man, okay, I get it. We're in this world of the customer's always right and, and all that. But it's just it's like, how did we get here? We got here because, okay, so basically Lil Baby got pulled over about, I don't even know when it was, maybe a year ago. And he did the exact same thing Tyreek did. He said, he said, give me my ticket. I got to go. I can't have my window rolled down because I'm a celebrity, right? And they showed the body cam footage from Lil Baby's arrest. I feel like Tyreek Hill was just trying to copy Lil Baby, and he didn't get an officer that responded the same way as Lil Baby's officer did in Atlanta. If you go back and look at it, he tried to do exactly what it was, but it was like, square peg in a round hole, buddy. That's one of those cops down there that he doesn't give a fuck that you're a celebrity. He's going to make his point. And anytime you get a cop like that, it's best to just comply, do what he asks you to do so you can be on your way. But rolling your window up when you've got jet black windows, that's only going to cause a problem. It's only going to cause a problem. And so I don't give a fuck about Tyreek Hill deserved everything he got, and I'm sure I'll take some flack for that, but that's just not how you handle yourself as an adult.
I agree. And rolling your window tint is that dark, you rolling it up, they can't see. They don't know you're Tyreek Hill, and they can't see what you're doing. So you know what I'm saying? That's the other problem. I don't. You gotta roll your window down. At the end of the day, I don't care who he is. It is what it is.
Period. Just get the situation over with. I said, he missed a great chance to gain a fan. With a little bit of humility. Yeah. Just a little bit of humility. But I get it. Listen, I'm gonna tell you like this: when I'm in my two-door Benz and I got the windows up and I look at that Lil Baby and and I'm rocking in that motherfucker, throwing up gang signs. You get in that mode, going to the game. And all of a sudden this cop comes and stops your mode. Mm-hmm. Listen, man, everybody gets pissed off when your mode gets stopped. But at the same time, you still gotta just snap out of it. This is a cop. Show him his respect. Roll your window down, license, registration, ID. Get on your way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought in those situations, you gotta de-escalate. You can't be. I wouldn't be a smart ass ever around that. I don't know why it's tough. People are I cut them slack, but dog, you can't be talking shit around the cops. You can't be acting smart, and you damn sure can't roll your window up when they ask you something. If they ask you something and they direct you to do something, you're gonna have to do it, or else that's kind of what happens. So I don't really have.
But let's not even bullshit ourselves. This isn't Tyreek's running with some wild shit, going on. And I mean, listen. I know I'm not the pot calling the kettle black. Listen, I got arrested 3 times in 18 months. Mm-hmm. Nothing to be proud of. But if you don't learn from it, then you're just a dummy, right? Yeah. There's only going to be your talent is only going to override these fuck ups for so long, right? If you continue to think I score a touchdown, it'll go away, all that. At some point, your talent's going to stop rising. And if you got the mentality that, I'm still going to catch touchdowns, one of these days it's going to stop. And if you don't correct the actual root of the problem, then you're going to see, and it's going to be a sad story. So, I just want him to learn from these interactions that he's dodging these serious blows and bullets with interactions with law enforcement. And I just want him to learn from them.
Well, yeah, and this stuff people won't talk on ESPN, and I'm sure next time you talk to JB about this, he'll bring this up. Tyreek Hill has had a serious history of doing some shit that I don't think. I mean, he's rumored to have broken his kid's arm. He choked his pregnant girlfriend. Like, it's this whole thing, man. So you got to understand why this shit always seems to find Tyreek Hill at the end of the day. I'm not saying that's like a thing, but Tyreek Hill, they gotta play by the rules, and they're calling it a race thing. Like the cops are white, they're Cuban and Latin cops. So you probably would know that they're stricter than shit. Like you don't fuck around with them. They don't play games.
Them Cubans is more racist than white folks. Let's keep it a buck.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
They are huge racists. They want to be white so bad. They do not like us niggas.
That's what it is. Yeah, I'm with you on that, especially down in Miami. They can just it is what it is, bro. It's crazy how social media has taken this and spun this. Charles Barkley, came out. I mean, he's had some interesting comments on it. He said, "We got so many fools in the media who love to play the race card." Like, I tend to agree. Do you agree with that?
Listen, man, everyone has a microphone to weigh in on shit. And you know what? It's just, I don't even listen to everyone's take. I know how I feel. I know what's right. So I don't really have to kind of go back and forth with these other people. Like, the whole thing was stupid. He was in the wrong for speeding. Then he tried to be a dick about it. And the cop was like, "Oh, okay, you want to be a dick? I'm going to show you what it looks like to be a dick." And then he pulled him out of his car. So that's how it goes. Yeah,
it is what it is. Tank, I can't thank you enough for joining the great show on a Wednesday. We covered some great topics. I look forward to this weekend's Bears game against the Texans. It's going to be an interesting one. Caleb Williams versus CJ Stroud. We'll be sure to watch. Huskies, I'm sure you're going to be watching. Who do you know the Huskies got this weekend?
Maybe Washington State.
Oh, fuck! It's the Apple Cup. Yeah, because it's non-conference. That's crazy. I'm glad they're still playing that. I was talking to Matt about Colorado, Nebraska, and how they need to play it like the Huskies and the Cougars play the Apple Cup. So I'm glad they're still playing it, even though that they're no more Pac-12. But Tank, thank you. I can't thank you enough for joining me. I really appreciate it. And, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Peace.
Peace.